Well, gang, it looks like we got another mystery on our hands. You might want to clench your butt cheeks real quick for this one, because we're not talking about any ordinary hole today, fellas. We're talking about the Mel's Hole. Yay! This is one of those world's mightiest holes. This may be one of the only holes that mankind may perhaps have laid its eyes on. We're gonna be diving deep into this one, no pun intended. If you guys are new here, you do not have to subscribe, guys. I post random stuff, but like the video if you love your mama. Shout out to the Space Wind. Let's roll it. Let's get to it.
Another mystery buried deep in the hills of eastern Washington keeps resurfacing. A bottomless pit said to be a pathway to the paranormal. KOMO4's Denise Whitaker heads east in search of the hole.
They dropped a camera in Mel's Hole, and what they captured shocked the whole world.
Oh no.
On Mel Waters' property in the Manastash Ridge west of Ellensburg, Washington, there's a peculiar hole in the ground that resembles a well, but it is not a well. It served as a trash dump for Mel and previous property owners, where everything from garbage to broken appliances and old tires found its way into the depths. Strangely, the hole never seemed to fill up, leading Mel to question its mysteries. Oddities starting to emerge. His dogs avoided it, his radio picked up bizarre signals, and there was no apparent bottom. You may have come across numerous stories and theories circulated about Mel's Hole.
Yep.
In 2017, a team of researchers finally located the infamous hole. Yet, when they lowered a camera down, what they discovered caught them completely off guard. Their only option was to flee, realizing that their lives were at stake.
Yeah.
Join us as...
I mean, listen, right? Imagine you're a ghost, minding your own business, chilling at the bottom of this hole, and somebody drops its fridge on you. Bruh. Of course you would be mad. People dropping rocks, people dumping their garbage inside, people dropping their fridges, appliances, like you said. Of course anybody would be mad. You would be mad, right, if somebody dropped a fridge on your head or something while you're minding your own business. Absolutely, right? What are we talking about? But let's continue with for it.
As we uncover the mystery of Mel's Hole and share the story of curious researchers who dare to find it and attempt to document the secrets hidden in its mysterious depths.
Okay.
Mel's Hole is a circular pit measuring 9
Curious researchers.
feet where it's hidden in its mysterious depths. Mel's Hole is a circular pit measuring 9 feet 9 inches in diameter. It is surrounded by a stone retaining wall that descends about 15 feet before plunging into darkness. What's intriguing is that not only did Mel Waters and his wife deposit
Rip Bozo. Yeah. Keep dropping those rocks. Keep dropping them.
items into this mysterious void, but his neighbors also joined in and contributed to this peculiar pit for years before Mel arrived. In fact, Mel's neighbors claim they couldn't recall a time when the hole didn't exist. Now, what baffles everyone is the absence of sound when objects are dropped into the hole. No echoes, no indication of a bottom. Mel Waters became curious and determined. He set out to uncover the mystery to determine the true depth of this mysterious pit. He was an enthusiastic fisherman who had numerous spools of fishing line. Attaching a 1-pound weight to the line, he lowered it down a hole. To his surprise, it descended 4,500 feet, the full length of the reel, without hitting the bottom. Undeterred, Mel reeled it up, replacing the weight with a roll of lifesavers, and sent it down again, hoping to discover water at the depths. However, the lifesavers were surface dry. Unyielding, Mel continued his quest, connecting spool after spool of fishing line, reaching depths of almost 10,000 feet with no sign of a bottom. Despite deploying lines totaling 80,000 feet, equivalent to over 15 miles, Mel's pursuit
10,000 feet deep. That's the deepest hole ever, bro. And can a brother perhaps get to see like the actual hole? No pun intended. Bruh. No diddy. But we're looking at so many holes here. What's the fascination with the holes, man? We're looking at so many holes. I mean, the story is fascinating, don't get me wrong. This is why we're covering it. But there's so many holes in this one. As a man, of course, I love holes, right? There you go. But why so many of them? ¿Por qué? ¿Qué pasa?
Pursuit proved fruitless, as the mysterious hole withheld its secrets. During his experiments, Mel observed a peculiar phenomenon. His dogs steadfastly avoided the mysterious hole. Even when forced, the dogs resisted, digging in their feet as if sensing an unsettling force. Strikingly, the area surrounding the hole lacked any sign of wildlife or insects, despite birds casually flying around it. Intrigued by this, Mel inquired with neighbors about their dog's behavior near the hole, and they all shared the same behavior. As discussions unfolded, one neighbor shared a chilling story. He revealed that, not long ago, his dog had passed away. In an attempt to bid farewell, he disposed of the canine's body down the mysterious hole. To his astonishment, a few days later, he spotted the same dog running through a wooded area near the property.
This is wild, right? If this really happens where, okay, so the dog did not want it to be anywhere around it, the owner is like, okay, you know what, bruh? I'm gonna dump your ass down there. What? Oh man, poor dog. If true, right? If the story is true, and the stuff that I heard about the story and the stuff that is gonna come in this one is fascinating, right? Because later on, I guess you're gonna get to it. You're gonna get a whole lot tonight, man. Apparently, the military also got involved. Oh shit! So yeah, that's the fascinating part about it.
Identifying it by the familiar collar, he called out, but the dog inexplicably refused to respond. The dog acted as if he was in the dark about his owner's identity. Could it be a version from another dimension? Well, that's a theory. With bizarre stories accumulating and the fishing line going deeper, Mel found himself perplexed, way out of his depth.
I mean, for sure, if your dog is like, bro, I don't want to be anywhere near that thing, man. I love holes, but not like these holes. That's what the dog said. And if you're gonna dump his ass down there, and if he comes back, he's saying reincarnation, okay, whatever. Of course the dog is not gonna talk to you because you went against his will. You know what I'm saying?
Mel needed assistance to uncover this mystery. In 1997, there was one place to turn to discuss the strange and be taken seriously. Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. Broadcasting from the high desert of the great American Southwest, Art's show reached hundreds of stations worldwide with 10 million listeners. If anyone could shed light on Mel's situation, it was Art Bell and his audience. On February 21st, 1997, Mel sent a message to Art. A call followed, and Mel's hole became a worldwide sensation. Throughout several shows, Mel Waters gradually unveiled more details about the mysterious hole. The positive aspect was that Mel received valuable advice from folks worldwide, suggesting the use of a laser for measurement or radar to assess the distance. The downside? Now millions were in the know about this hole thanks to Mel's radio revelations. Clues dropped by Mel hinted at its location. The day after the initial broadcast, as Mel returned to his property, he found the entrance blocked. The U.S. military, yes, the government, had caught wind of the hole, and they...
There we go, and guess what? The U.S. military allegedly filled up that hole. No pun intended, but they filled up that hole so nobody finds it out. And yeah, right, like the reason it's fascinating is because, yes, it's a hole. Yeah, come on now, right? Like everybody loves holes, right? Hide your holes, man. I do not want any of you to get probed by these alien twats or these bozos out there, right? And it's fascinating because if it's true, then yeah, like why would the military get involved? There's a reason behind it, of course. If the military, if somebody screams that, hey, I found a hole and it leads me to like a different dimension or a different like reality or whatever, you're gonna be like, yeah, whatever, who cares, right? Like, not true, lies, right? But then the military takes operation, that's when you're gonna be like, maybe he was telling the truth. You know, that's where it becomes fascinating, and then we find out that the military filled up that hole. Yeah, right, and gave Mel's millions and millions of dollars to shut up about it.
They wanted exclusive access. After the Friday night show, Mel noticed some helicopter activity around the property, and it continued the next day. Mel mentioned that the hole might affect the environment around it. Animals avoided it, but plants thrived. Radios acted strangely. Bring one near the hole and the signal went staticky, picking up broadcasts from elsewhere. One day, Mel's radio started playing what he described as old-time music. Trying to change the channel, he ends up tuning into a baseball game. First baseman, he thinks, until he realizes the game was played in 1967, 30 years ago.
Holy.
In Art's initial conversation with Mel, the call stretches for about an hour before wrapping up. Mel was staying in Ellensburg and he made the call from there. However, upon Mel's return to his property, he encounters a roadblock manned by armed military personnel and signs of heavy machinery being brought in. The reason given is a plane crash on the property, yet there's no report, no fire, no smoke. Despite this, Mel is denied access until a complete investigation of the supposed crash is conducted. When he requests to speak with the person in charge, a civilian-clad man informs him that the land might not be his anymore. Implicit threats of discovering a drug lab on the property if he doesn't comply. In defiance, Mel talks about going to the press. The man in charge dismisses his threats, saying, "Go ahead and..."
Yeah, the classic, right? Okay, it's no longer your property, it's mine! And yeah, if you go to the authorities, if you go, or in this case, if you go to the radio, if you talk to the public, we gonna send you to another dimension, no pun intended. And the reason the whole is fascinating is because the claims that are being made, right? If true, again, if true, a porthole to another dimension, sheesh, man, what are the odds? What are the odds, bro?
And talk. No one would believe it. However, Art Bell and his audience would indeed believe it.
Of course.
A few days later, Art calls Mel for an update. Mel reports that a neighbor witnessed a dark beam emerging from the hole, piercing through the clouds, a darkness unlike anything seen before. Now I must say, Mel didn't witness this himself, but according to Art Bell and a bunch of callers, this part of Washington is a hot spot for UFO sightings, disappearances, and other paranormal happenings. The callers, they had their own takes on it. Some speculated the hole might be on the ley line, creating a portal to another dimension or maybe even through time. They believed anything tossed in there just vanished, possibly accumulating in a mysterious pile in an alternate reality. You know, a heap of garbage, old appliances, and, unfortunate animals. And there was this one caller who floated the idea that it might be a tunnel to the hollow earth. Yup, like a subway. The theories kept pouring in. Art Bell, unable to access his property anymore, reached out to locals for more intel. An elderly neighbor spilled the beans, mentioning that years ago there used to be stone columns around the hole. The audience was quick to remind Mel that calling into the show might be a mistake, as you know the government could be listening.
Yep.
The show concludes and Mel promises to return with an update. But on the day Mel was supposed to show up again, he's a no-show and doesn't pick up the phone.
Oh,
now,
that's
the
bad.
television crew went up to Ellensburg to dig into this. Guess what? No hole found. However, in the area they discovered loads of military blueprints and intel that strongly hinted the military had been or still was in the vicinity. Now would be 3 years before Mel claims he was offered a cool $3 million annually to lease his property, but with a catch. Sign a non-disclosure agreement, pack up, leave the country immediately, and never return. Mel takes the offer and sets up shop in Australia for 2 years.
And $3 million for that time would be how much today? Easily, I would say, closer to 10 million, right? If not, maybe even more than that. Yeah, if any of you got those calculators out, yeah, get your calculators out, class. Do the inflation calculation on that thing. Yeah, $3 million for give or take around 1997 or 1996. Yeah, and now we're sitting in 2025. Maybe you're watching this video in 2050 and be like, sup, bruh? Yeah, man, how you doing in 2050? Let us know, man. Did we make contact with aliens? Did they tell us the truth? Because right now they're saying... Yeah, I mean, Dr. Stephen Greer and other whistleblowers are saying in a year's time, they're gonna disclose the truth. I really hope they do. And of course, on an official level, Anna Polina, the US government, one of the US government personnel, she's also saying that they're gonna disclose stuff about UFOs. So maybe it's true. Maybe we're gonna find out. But if you're in 2050, sitting in 2050 watching this video, you probably got the answers. You probably got the answers. So let us know, man. Fill us up. Not like that, but like fill us in on the information, okay? Come on, guys. Like, damn, man.
But you know, the heart wants what it wants, and Mel starts missing his family. So he decides, Mel takes the offer and sets up shop in Australia for 2 years. But you know, the heart wants what it wants, and Mel starts missing his family. So he decides to sneak back into the States for a visit. Now, he was warned against this, but Mel does it anyway. During this visit, Mel reaches out to Art Bell and agrees to spill the beans on the radio.
Rip.
But surprisingly, he never shows up.
Rip Bozo.
Mel explains that on the day he was supposed to be on air, he was on a bus heading to visit his nephew. But some kind of altercation breaks out, police are called, everyone gets questioned, and they shuffle onto a different bus. Then, as if life needed another curveball, Mel blacks out. The next memory Mel has is waking up in San Francisco, realizing a whopping 12 days have vanished.
Oh my
Here's
God.
where it gets eerie.
Yeah.
He's in an alley, wallet and keys gone.
He got abducted! He got abducted! He got abducted! Yeah, he definitely was. I mean, they must have done some test on him, try to wipe his memory out or stuff like that. Sheesh, man. So, yeah, he takes the money, and then 2 years later, of course, he misses the family, so therefore he sneaks back into the US, and yeah, I mean, listen, man, he wanted to get back with his family, with his fam, but they caught the wind off it, and then this happens.
Arm is throbbing, and upon inspection, he discovers needle holes and tape marks from an IV. As he regains consciousness, he tastes blood in his mouth and finds his back teeth missing. Now brace yourself, Mel never makes it back to the property. Legal troubles swoop in as he faces action for illegal construction.
Okay, if true, right? If true, what's the reason for the back tooth missing? Any of you know the significance behind it, or any of you know the reason behind them, perhaps, like, I guess the military or the black operations that goes down? What would be their reasoning to remove his back tooth? Is it for the DNA purposes? Is it for something else? Do you think that they implanted perhaps a GPS device down where the tooth was, pull the tooth out, put a GPS there so they can locate him at all times and keep a tab on him, perhaps a microphone down inside too, so whatever he says they can hear? Is that, yeah, I'm just trying to make sense of the story. If true, guys, listen, this is one of those conspiracy theory, right? We do not know whether it's a real story or not, but it's a fascinating story about the hole, and everybody loves holes, so therefore we're covering it.
Power lines, septic tanks, and paved roads. Mind you, he didn't put those there. The government occupied his property for 2 years. Despite that, Mel loses everything. Adding salt to the wound, a day or two after reaching out to Art's show, his bank account is empty. Now, plenty of folks call in, claiming it's all a hoax. But Art Bell, the master of tales, decides to let Mel spin his yarn. He does drop a nugget that a TV crew explored the area in search of the elusive hole. No luck on finding it.
We had KFC back then? I'm joking around, but we had KFC, right? Back then? I get it, like he's talking about dropping a nugget as information, guys. I got it, man. I get it, okay? But did we have, like, not genuine question, did we have KFC back then?
But they stumble upon signs of significant military activity. Adding a dash of intrigue, the no-fly zone inexplicably expands to cover the same territory.
Oh,
TerraServer, the pre-Google Earth mapping site, shows the whole area blacked out, a detail that checks out. Now, some callers suggest Mel might have found the blacked out map area and pretended it was his property. But TerraServer launched 6 months after Mel's first call, so he couldn't have known. Now here's a twist. A Native American tribe contacts Mel, inviting him to Nevada to assist in their research on another bottomless hole. They guide him there, and despite not going all the way up, there are discussions involving Native Americans, the Basque, and the pit.
Oh shit! Another hole? Yeah, that's right, because a long time ago when I saw the video on the Mel's hole, yeah, there was a discussion about the second hole, that them finding out the second hole too, right? And this video is filled with holes, bro. I've never seen that many holes at once, okay? Bruh. Like, no pun intended. But allegedly, they discover another hole. Yeah, that's right. Shit, man, what are the odds? Yeah, okay, so where is the second hole located? And can a brother perhaps go and see? I mean, no diddy, but like...
The consensus is that everything is as it should be, with assurances that Mel isn't from CNN, FBI, or CIA. You know, the usual suspects.
You never know.
So off Mel goes, and he gets a first-hand look at the hole. Now, the burning question, what on earth is down there? The second hole isn't on the Indian reservation. It's on public land used by the Basques, an ethnic group hailing from the region between France and Spain. The Basque, settling in the US, particularly Nevada, since the mid-1800s, used this land for sheep herding. According to them, the hole has been there for at least 200 years, considered sacred. Measuring just over 9 feet wide like Mel's, this hole takes a different aesthetic approach. While Mel's hole had a stone retaining wall, the second hole boasts a metal collar and lining that stretches as far as the eye can see. Here's where it gets peculiar. This hole radiates warmth, with heat palpable all around it. The metal collar is not your average metal, it's special. When Mel accidentally drops a tool on it, the impact is eerily silent. No sound, no vibrations, just a baffling...
Okay, why you gotta use words like that? Hole, sensation, warmth, vibration. Why you gotta use words like that, bro? We get it. But damn! What kind of hole we're talking about here? Are we talking about the same hole here? Chill.
Absence of the expected. So Mel and the Bosk begin their experiments. Their first test involved lowering a bucket of ice down the hole about 1,000 feet deep while keeping some ice at the surface as a control. When the surface ice melted, they retrieved the bucket. To their amazement, the ice in the bucket didn't melt at all. Even more perplexing, it was no longer cold to the touch and it remained dry. The texture resembled large pieces of salt. Intrigued, they attempted to melt it over an open flame, but instead of melting, it caught fire, and not just a fleeting flame. This ice continued
Say psych right now! Say psych!
to burn for months. Subsequent experiments involved sending different amounts of ice down the hole.
Say psych!
Interestingly, about 2/3 of the time, it melted normally, but 1/3 of the time, it underwent a mysterious transformation. At this point, one courageous Bosk volunteered to descend into the hole, a notion met with unanimous agreement that it wasn't a good idea.
Yeah, of course.
Opting for an alternative, they decided to send a sheep down. Yes.
Oh man, I was gonna call him, what a guy, you know, I was gonna call him man of God right there. What a brave soul, what a brave man. You know, risking his life to go down and find out. But they were like, okay, now man, psych! He pulled that Uno reverse card and he's like, okay, now bro, F all with that. I ain't going down that hole, brother. I'm gonna send a sheep in. Damn, man. Yeah, brother was like, okay, no, I love holes, but not these kind of holes. I ain't going down. But I get it, man. I get it, bro. Like, come on now, right? Like,
Yes, a sheep.
this
The
a
outcome?
sheep down?
Brace yourself.
Ooh.
The sheep, seemingly aware of impending strangeness, resisted vehemently. As the crate containing the sheep was lowered to a depth of 1,000 feet, it abruptly stopped moving. The peculiar humming sensation enveloped the surroundings. They left the sheep down there for 30 minutes and then hoisted it back up. To their surprise, the crate and sheep appeared unchanged, yet upon closer inspection, the sheep was lifeless. The experience left them in awe, evoking a sense of the extraordinary, even bordering on the religious. The Bosk, skilled in the art of butchering sheep, wasted no time conducting a swift autopsy on the enigmatic sheep brought to the table. Brace yourself for what unfolds. As they examined the sheep, an unnerving revelation surfaced. It appeared as though the sheep had been cooked from the inside out. The most striking observation was a colossal tumor dominating the sheep's body cavity. But here's where it takes a surreal turn.
Radiation
The tumor
probably, huh?
exhibited signs of life and began to move. Yes, you heard that right.
What?
To unravel the mystery, they decided to cut open the tumor. What they discovered inside left them utterly flabbergasted. Inside the tumor resided what Mel described as a fetal seal. Picture this, a creature reminiscent of a baby seal, tethered...
Yo, I'm getting like a whole lot of Stranger Things vibes from this one. Have you guys seen Stranger Things? One in the comments if you have to. If you have not, I would definitely recommend it. Very good show. And yeah, right, like most of the time the movies that we see, the TV shows that we see on topics like that, I mean, come on now, right? The writer, the director, the producer, the people behind making the shows or the movies, of course they have done research. Right, the idea behind the stuff that they talk about and show in movies and in TV shows like these, I mean, it's not just imagination. It is imagination based off of the stuff that they have consumed and researched. So, yeah, somebody's definitely researching stuff. And yeah, so basically Stranger Things also has like different dimension. They explore different dimensions and all that, and they also of course explore the idea of remote viewing and all that with the character of L. And recently, you know, that the guy, the eyes wide open guy, people that likes to call him, hey, the guy never blinks, Jake Barber, you know, the X-ship UFO guy that revealed the X-ship UFO. Yeah, so he was also talking about psionic abilities, the remote viewing crap like that. Whether you want to believe it or not, that's up to you. But yeah, that's one thing that the show also talks about, and got like different creatures. And I mean, the show is literally called Stranger Things, so yeah, right, it kind of gives me big vibes of that.
Tethered to the tumor by an umbilical cord, yet with eyes that resemble those of a human. They observed this seal-like creature crawl to the end of the table, and Mel sensed a yearning for the hole. Acting on intuition, he gently placed the creature near the edge. The creature, slimy to the touch, emitted a distinct smell of ozone. The men and the creature engaged in an unusual mutual observation for about 2 hours. Then, in a moment of finality, the seal creature cast a parting glance at the men and leaped into the mysterious hole. Now prior to Mel's journey to Nevada, he faced a grim prognosis: advanced esophageal cancer, leaving him with a mere 6 months to live.
Damn.
Yet, post this otherworldly encounter, Mel found himself miraculously cancer-free. His conviction?
What?
The magical seal held the key to his inexplicable recovery. Mel underwent a transformative experience that altered the very fabric of his being. As the radio show neared its end, a stern warning echoed across the airwaves. The actual roadway into Mel's hole was ominously present, but listeners were urged to steer clear, as venturing beyond that point might lead to ominous consequences, a potential disappearance into the unknown. Several months later, Mel returned to Coast, bringing with him the aftermath of the peculiar ice experiments. One of the Bosk individuals took the burning ice to his cabin for warmth. Little did he anticipate the bizarre consequences that awaited. The burning ice, continuously ablaze for months, leached moisture from the air, leaving the cabin in a perpetual state of dryness. The inhabitant experienced persistently parched skin and an unquenchable thirst. Even boiling water turned peculiar, as the steam was inexplicably drawn into the stove. Then, the unforeseen occurred. The stove crashed through the cabin floor, descending into the ground beneath, all while remaining warm. The pragmatic response? Patch up the floor and utilize the peculiar hole for warmth. However, this makeshift solution took a surreal turn weeks later when the entire cabin collapsed into dust. In the aftermath, the bewildered owner sought refuge with his brother. Returning to the cabin a month later, the perplexed cabin owner encountered a peculiar sight. The stove, once at the surface, now rested 5 feet underground. Astonishingly, the stove had unwittingly birthed a new baby bottomless hole, its creation marked by a flawlessly smooth surface. Attempts to retrieve the stove proved futile until the intervention of a massive crane, which successfully extricated the perplexing appliance from the depths below. Adding another layer to the enigma, the Bosk individuals revealed encounters with the entity, the magic seal discovered in the hole. Viewed as a benevolent presence, the magic seal assumed a spiritual significance for the Bosk, fostering a profound connection with the inexplicable forces at play.
You know, that's how Stranger Things started too, right? So they open a new dimension, and then there's like a creature that comes out of it. Yeah, right. It has that vibe. This is why I'm saying, like, I'm getting that vibes. I definitely recommend you check it out. And apparently the last season is gonna have like 2 parts. We're hearing, the rumor has it that the last season, I mean, they confirmed it, that's coming out this year, but the rumor is that the last season, season 5, gonna have 2 parts. One is gonna come out October, part 1, and part 2 would be in November. So it's gonna be a perfect time to, I guess, like, check it out if you have not, or perhaps like watch it around summertime, and then, you know, when season 5's out, you get to see the entire thing as well. And apparently season 5 is gonna be the last one, so yeah.
Strikingly colored birds, seemingly impervious to bullets, now circled the hole. A peculiar response to what only could be described as a spiritual experience. The Bosk, in their unique way, perceived the avian presence as a response to their encounter. In an astonishing revelation, the Bosk claimed that the magic seal communicated with them through a system of beeps and clicks over the radio, a language they purportedly understood.
Morse code?
According to their belief, the creature conveyed warnings about the perilous nature of the ice, emphasizing its potential for catastrophic consequences if it fell into the wrong hands. Art, ever the Inquisitor, sought evidence of this communication, and the Bosk did not disappoint. They had recorded everything. For the next few hours, a few more theories are considered. Art manages to convince Mel to return to the show, promising to bring recordings, photos, videos, and every piece of...
But I guess, spoiler alert, he probably got caught, and therefore the videos were seized, and therefore, I guess you guessed it, we never got the recordings. Man, can a brother perhaps get the videos though?
Piece of evidence he can gather. Mel agrees to head back to Nevada for this mission. The call concludes and the show wraps up. Strangely, Mel goes silent. He doesn't answer Art's calls, and eventually the line is cut.
There we go.
5 years pass, marking the conclusion of the Mel's Hole story, leaving behind a plethora of unanswered questions. Among Art Bell's memorable moments, Mel's Hole stands near the top. So how much of the tale can we confirm? Let's start with the hole's location. While Terra's server blacked out that part of Washington, Google Earth revealed it again. However, if the military truly took over the property, they would have likely concealed the hole. Despite years of searching, many locations emerged, but one on Google Maps stood out. Someone took the initiative to visit the location and document what was there. Now, during one of Mel's phone calls, he mentioned 2 old buildings on the property, and one eventually collapsed under snow. This lines up with the description pretty neatly. On the property, there's also something intriguing. A hole about 9 feet wide with a stone retaining wall, just as Mel described. This discovery stirred up quite the buzz online. However, the excitement faded as the hole turned out to be an old well with a definitive bottom.
Man.
Many on the internet claim to have found Mel's Hole, but the truth is it remains elusive, at least for now. Now,
I mean, if the story is true and the military got involved and they filled up that hole, no pun intended again, guys. But yeah, right, exactly. So if the military found it and they filled up the hole, then good luck finding that real one. I mean, if you come across any hole, it's probably not going to be the real deal, because according to the story, because if the story is true, the hole exists. And if you come across the hole, well, that means the story is true, and therefore, if the story is true, therefore, the military, like we're hearing, indeed filled that hole up. Therefore, whatever hole you're gonna come across is probably gonna be some else. It's not gonna be the real Mel's Hole. So, yeah, good luck finding the real one. I don't think we're gonna...
Now let's talk about Mel. A character as complex as the mystery itself.
Yeah.
Records don't show a Mel or Melvin Waters living in the area. Still, some speculate he used a pseudonym to safeguard his identity. Now, here's a real blow to the story's credibility. The lack of pictures.
Nah.
In every call, Art presses Mel for photographs, but sometimes Mel claims he forgets to take them, which seems absurd. Another time, he argues that cameras don't function near the hole due to interference, or he does have pictures and recordings, but they're not readily available. He promises to send them when he can.
Yeah.
In Mel's defense, he never monetizes anything. Even if this were a hoax, he could have made a fortune selling t-shirts, books, fake photographs, anything.
And yeah, a lot of you guys are like, hey man, you need to make a shirt about, Mom, get the camera, or this and that. Guys, listen, man, I'm not in the business of making shirts, man. Maybe one day we'll make it, okay? But
people would have bought it just for the cool factor. Now, a common argument is that Mel's story became increasingly bizarre and eventually he couldn't keep up with it, leading him to abandon the hoax. However, he remained consistent with the facts over 5 years, and Art Bell, attempting numerous times to trip him up, couldn't succeed. Yet the hole itself poses a geological improbability. A hole many miles deep would be unstable, collapsing unless it's a bottomless gateway to another dimension, right? Unless it's that. But the truth remains elusive, and whether Mel's Hole has believers, Art Bell might not have been one of them. Still, Art, being an entertainer, knew this was the kind of story his listeners loved. A legend that people still discuss 30 years later.
Yep. It's a crazy story, man. It's a crazy story. And if there's any other story that you guys want me to cover on the channel, feel free to put it in the comments below. But check out this video on the screen. We recently had... And apparently a guy found out a crash UFO. And he filmed it. He also knocked on it. And it's a crazy video alongside... We got like a lot of other videos too. Check out this video on the screen and I'll see you right there.